Hey guys, it's Joel Rasmussen from Southern Cross Combat, bringing you another kind of ranty video like I have done a little bit in the past, just kind of reacting and talking about the breaking news that Demolition Fight Series, the Melbourne-based pro and amateur promotion, is closing its doors after 5 years and 16 shows. Of course, you know, for the video I did have to bust out the Demolition shirt. I just kind of wanted to give my thoughts on it and let the people who did know about Demo an opportunity to maybe hear some stories about it and let their thoughts be known, you know, in the comments below, and the people who didn't know, let them kind of know what Demo was, admittedly from an outsider's perspective. I'm hopefully owner Wayne Carl and I will have a interview coming within the next kind of weekish. But now that it's fresh, I just kind of wanted to share some stories about Demo, about my time as a journalist covering it. I was very fortunate to be at the show last night. It comes as a big surprise to me. I didn't know that the show was shutting down. I don't know who knew. I've had people who work at the show text me since the news has come out, being like, "Did you know about this? I didn't know about this." I didn't know. I had, as the show ended, I had heard some rumors, but I wasn't sure. But they released a statement, which I will read right now. You can tell I'm very prepared. I wanted this to be kind of something that goes off the dome, but all right, now let's test my reading and comprehension skills. On a Facebook post, Demolition Fight Series posted, "An end of an era. Demolition Fight Series 16 marks the final chapter in what was an amazing journey. 5 years, 16 shows. We made a promise that when this show becomes a job and not a passion, we would walk away. We hope to be remembered for taking a sport, growing it, and leaving it in a better place than when we found it. Legacy-wise, all we want to be remembered for is a family show that cared about the fighters, gyms, patrons, and people. This was a decision that has been made in happiness and is not any way caused by anything negative. To the fighters, gyms, attendees, and the MMA community, it's been fun. To everyone that has helped at Demolition Fight Series, far too many to mention, we thank you for your loyalty and support." The first Demolition Fight Series show I covered was Demolition 10? Yes. The first Demolition Fight Series show I covered was Demolition 10. This is just, May of last year. I was relatively new to the game. I'd only started in January. I'd gotten a friend of mine, a coach that I knew from my area, to, "Hey, do you think maybe you could contact the people who run Demo and I could come to the show?" So thank you to Jamie Abdallah for doing that, head coach at AXFC. I remember being so nervous. I couldn't believe that I was going to cover an MMA show and getting to talk to the fighters afterwards. I was white knuckling the whole time. I barely knew anyone. I just kind of sat off in the corner. I didn't want to speak to anyone because I didn't want to bother them. I was like, "Oh, these guys are all warming up to fight. I'm so nervous. Why would they want to talk to me?" And all this stuff. But Wayne and the team were incredibly welcoming. They were incredibly kind. I was nervous, and I was nervous for quite a few shows after that, which I'll talk about. But Wayne always made me feel welcome, and I appreciate that so much. As a young journalist cutting my teeth, which I'm still doing, he always made me feel welcome. I remember after that show, it's either after that show or after the next show, after Demo 10 or 11, I remember thanking him for the show and thanking him for letting me cover it as media. And he said, "Mate, you're always welcome." And that's how it felt at Demo. Demo's a show that it wasn't like the other fight shows. It was a real kind of... It had a different environment to it. Partially because during my time covering Demo, it's not at the same venue as all the other shows. They ran out of the Club Italia in Sunshine, which it's a unique venue. That was the only fight show I ever saw there. And that just inherently made it feel different. I was actually talking about this with a fighter at the weigh-ins 2 nights ago, before the last Demo show, about the cage, and how not a fighter, I've said that a million times, I always thought the Demo cage was small, but talking to this fighter, I think it was Ben Evans, was talking to me about it. He said, no, that's a bigger cage than what he had previously fought in. And I think it's just because of the venue and how the venue was set up. It always really felt like a packed, intimate show. And there was always a fantastic atmosphere. And everyone's families always showed up. I'm just uploading the last kind of lot of interviews from the last Demo show, and I asked nearly everyone who I interviewed about the family that showed up for them and what that kind of meant to them and them in the crowd. And sitting cage side or sitting near the cage, the place was pumping nearly for everyone. Everyone had a turnout, which was, and that's just about the last Demo show, just 16 that's gone. But Demolition Fight Series, I think, was a very, very, very important part in the MMA ecosystem and the Melbourne MMA scene. They were a very caring group. I mean, look at Cam O'Neill made a comment on the. I just got a text from Jamie Abdallah that said, I'm upset about Demo closing. And they were a great show. I've had fighters reach out to me after the news broke. And I don't work there. I just broke the news. But fighters reaching out to me, saying how gutted they are that the show's closing. Fighters are posting on their Instagram stories. And as I said, I'm just someone who covered those events. I'm sure Wayne is feeling the love. And if not, I hope he is. And I encourage you guys anyone watching this to let their feelings be known about Demo and talk about the happy moments and what you loved about Demo. Reach out to Wayne. I'm sure, on the Facebook or wherever it may be. I don't know if he'll like me saying that. Maybe he'll be like, don't blow up my phone, but I'm sure he'll deal with it if it's people letting their feelings known about Demo and how much it meant to people. But as I said earlier in this is just kind of something I'm doing off the dome, but I did want to talk about the shows and kind of talk about some of the talent that's come through. I was looking, as we all know, Tapology is gospel. Looking through the Tapology, some of the names, I'm gonna point out some of the names of the people I'm familiar with, some of the people that I've had interactions with. That's not to say that anyone that I don't mention is not worth the mention. Just I maybe haven't crossed paths with them yet. But headlined by Troy Fumo. We love Troy Boy. I have a lot of respect for that man. He's opening his own gym. He pulled off the victory, a submission in the 3rd round for the flyweight title on the first Demo show. Back when it was called XFC Demolition. The first couple shows, Wayne will talk about this when I interview him, hopefully. Hopefully we'll be able to do like a retrospective. But I remember he spoke to me about how the first Demo shows were under the XFC title because they weren't sure if it was going to work out. And so they did it, and going out on their own was like a big step for them. But Troy Boy in the main event, and we go a little bit further, you see a Jacob Prosser. He fought on the first Demo show. You see a Val Sharipov, another man who fought in the first Demo show, and something that I really want to point out is you go all the way down to the bottom of the first ever Demolition show on Tapology. You go down to the bottom, and you see a very, very, very familiar name, a man making his amateur debut. You see Jonathan McAuliffe, a man who is now in the UFC, who I spoke to last night at the Demolition show. And those are the people who came up through Demolition. I cover mixed martial arts and I cover combat sports in Australia to try to raise up the talent and be a historian and try to record what happened and to find the truth about things and to highlight to people that the men and the women who represent our country and our area, including New Zealand, those men and women who do that, they started somewhere. And those are on the local pro shows. But I want people now to know that the people who are on the local pro shows, they started somewhere. And they started at places like Demolition. I think it's incredible to see that Jono McAuliffe was the first fight on the first show, getting a TKO, a KO TKO due to corner stoppage. And now look what that man has done. Slick as shit, Jono McAuliffe, which we talk about in the interview with him that I had. And I'm not going to go necessarily through every show, but just to talk about some of the talent. You have Annie Thatcher fighting on these cards. Fumo again. You know, Luke Daly fighting amateur on these shows. Harry Webb. Who could forget Harry Webb? Many belts Harry Webb. That being said, Luke Daly also capturing a title. Don't want to leave that out. You got Lisa Kiriakou, Semakade Kakembo, Jonathan McAuliffe again. You know, these are the people who are those high-level guys on this scene. These are the people who are knocking on that UFC door, who are fighting in your UFCs, in your Bellators, in your One Championships, your PFLs, on the world stage, and this is where they started. D. Samasoni. This is just an exercise where I go through and I point at people that I know. That's what I'm doing right now. But I won't do that for every show. And I know I'm talking about it from an amateur perspective. And a lot of the fights I've just mentioned have been the amateurs. But as I've, just pulled up now, men like Jack Lyons and Michael Stanoff getting the opportunity to have those early fights in their pro career on a card like Demo. That's so important as well. To create a space where people go out there and feel comfortable to perform and to put themselves out there. I had this thought last night, sitting at Demo, sitting next to Wayne. Wayne and I were sitting against the back wall, watching the fights, just kind of chatting about them. And fighters who were coming out, making their pro debut, and both things. I remember when I say both things, I'll elaborate on that. Both people who are there and their family are there, and people who are there that are against the guy who has their family there. I believe it wasn't a pro fight, but Conor Idris's mother was like standing next to me during his fight, cheering on her son. And I couldn't imagine doing that. Could you imagine stripping down to your underwear and walking out in a room full of not just strangers, but your family and getting into a fist fight? I couldn't do that. That's crazy. The pressure would be, I would think it would be immense. And then on the flip side, where you walk out there and the crowd's against you, I couldn't imagine that either. And although obviously everyone went and got to cheer for who they wanted and support their guy, it was never an unsafe environment. It was never an environment that felt... I know I just said unsafe and I was going to use that word again, but it never felt seedy. It never felt dirty. That I think combat sports all over gets a bad rap and gets that kind of stigma attached to it. For the people who don't know combat sports, I think that's the stigma that comes with it. But it never felt like that. And last night, getting to sit with Wayne and watch the fights and just talk about them and talk about life and talk about whatever, and seeing the whole Carl family and everyone who put effort in. It's a place where I cut my teeth. It's a place where fighters cut their teeth. and it is a big loss to the mixed martial arts scene that they are no longer operating. And to Demolition and to every person who ever set up a ring or was out the back I ever had an interaction with, I want to say thank you, and I want to thank you for being so welcoming and allowing me to cut my teeth and to nervously come up to fighters and be like, could I maybe get an interview with you? I remember the second or third demo show I covered. Let me look. I believe it was the second demo show. The first demo show I covered, I talked to Dylan Lahari and Winona Greenhall, two people who have gone on to have great pro debuts. But I believe it was the second show. No, it was not the second show. It was the third show that I covered. It was the first show at demo I'd been to that had pros on it. And I remember I'd begin to build a relationship with some of the amateur guys. But the pro guys I had no clue about. I don't want to bother them. They're pros, bro. And I remember sitting there super awkwardly and being too intimidated to go up and ask anyone for an interview. And Wayne going, I'll go get him, don't worry. And Wayne going over and getting Val Sharipov after he won his fight. And making sure that I got that interview. So I'm always very appreciative of that. Thank you so much to Demolition Fight Series. Thank you on behalf of the fighters, if I can say that. I don't necessarily consider myself a fighter representative, but if the outpour on social media hasn't been obvious, thank you to from the fighters to Demolition. Dylan Lahari is a man who made his opinions on Demolition known in my post-fight interview with him. In the cage, he said it. It's a place that allowed people like him to cut his teeth. Thank you. Just thank you. On behalf of myself, a guy who had no clue how to get into this game, had no clue how to talk to fighters, had no clue how to do any of it. And you guys gave me the opportunity to get my feet under me and to meet the talent and to step into this crazy game of MMA that I love so much. Demolition Fight Series will 100% be missed by many people, myself included. I will be repping my Demolition shirt with pride today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.